All right, guys, I hope you are ready for a bombshell of a night because I found something that corroborates exactly what I was saying about Jeffrey Epstein's heart. And yeah, let's just say I was right about his heart. Does that mean that I was right about him being alive? Well, that's up for you to decide. Anyway, let's just jump right into this. I just want to give you a heads up on my mic for some reason. It's being super weird. So yeah, I might have to do some troubleshooting in the middle of the show. But we'll just see how it goes. I think I fixed the problem, but I'm not 100% sure. So just letting you know, giving you a warning. Anyway, jumping right into this, let's move on to. Let me get myself out of the way. I'm always in the way, guys. Just shove me right out of the way. Okay, so actually, you know what? Before that, no, you know what? Yeah, let's go ahead. So this is Dr. Amari, potentially. The reason why I say potentially is because there really isn't any information on this Dr. Amori other than the um logs, okay? And I found those logs here. Okay. So these are the log books that the guards were using. And if you look in them, it's right here. They put the time, 8:40, okay, and Maid Epstein is taking a shower, 8:40. So every 15 minutes they are documenting about him, what he's doing. He's talking to somebody, he's doing this, he's doing that, he's whatever, he's sleeping, he's whatever, all these things, right? So in one of these logs, and I can't pull up the exact log because I can't remember exactly what log it was, but I did pull it up on my last episode regarding his heart. I will link that in the comments. I will pin it in the comments for those of you who haven't seen it and want to go check it out so that you can go back and reference it. The reason why I'm having a hard time referencing it is because the web is down. So I know, very unfortunate. Makes my life a little bit more difficult because now, again, I'm like pulling up 1,000 tabs under the DOJ. And you know what? That's okay. We're still going to get the files, and I'm sure that they'll be back. So it says, Web will be back soon. We're making some improvements to bring you a better investigative experience. Well, you know what? I can't complain about that. I'm not going to lie, put a little damper on my evening, but we're not completely down and out. As a matter of fact, it's almost a blessing because I ended up finding exactly the, I don't know, I guess smoking gun, if you will, to completely prove exactly what I was saying about his heart. Okay. So anyway, back to Dr. Amori real quick. So the only information we have about this guy is that he was mentioned in one of these logs, okay? Um and all we know is that he came in at like 6:15 in the morning and he saw Jeffrey Epstein. He talked to him and did a interview with him at 6 o'clock in the morning. Okay, sure. And I'm like, who is this doctor? Because there's no other information about him. There's no documentation of him in the emails. It's not like it's his personal doctor. He doesn't. I mean, I can't even find anything about him working at the prison. So it just seems like he kind of appeared out of thin air and then kind of vanished out of thin air. And even when you Google it, like there's no information about this person except for here. So I found the only Dr. Amori is Dr. Amori Yoichi. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And he is a medical doctor at the Nippon Medical School. And for those of you who are unfamiliar, like I was, this is actually a school in, I believe it's Japan. Let me just double check because I do not want to be wrong on that for you guys. Um, I'm always open to being wrong, but I don't want to be wrong. I'm trying to give you accurate information. So let's just pull it up here real quick. Let me double check. I might be all over the place tonight because I was not expecting web to be down, and that usually kind of orders my stuff, but orders orders my stuff. So yeah, Tokyo, Japan. That's where the school is. So what if this is that doctor? Again, I can't confirm or definitively that this is the doctor. But considering this is literally the only Dr. Amori I can find, and Amori does seem to be an un-American type of a name, it's possible that this could be the same doctor. And lo and behold, He's not just any doctor. He's a cardiologist. Yeah, cardiologist. So if this is the doctor that came to visit him, we have a cardiologist coming to visit Mr. E at 6 o'clock in the morning to have an interview. And then like a week and a half later, he's just gone. Yeah, that's not weird at all. Um, but yeah, so he works for the Department of Cardiovascular Medicine at this medical school, and he is actually involved in 54 publications. And if you scroll down here and you look, there is tons and tons and tons of um cardiac informational articles that he's helped write and been involved in. Even as of recently, we have November of 2025, March of 2025. Over here, validation in March of 2025, validation of guideline recommendations on sudden cardiac death prevention in hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. Well, if you're writing articles about it, then that must mean that you're an expert in the matter of hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. So what is a cardiologist who's an expert in hypertrophic cardiomyopathy doing visiting Mr. E all the way in America in prison to interview? I don't know. I mean, my best guess is to just kind of maybe go over what type of health conditions he might have to have in order to actually pull off uh, telling people that he has hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. Because exactly as we know from my previous episode, it was um, a few days later that he is then diagnosed with a history of uh, high blood pressure. Well, we know if you have a history of high blood pressure, then yeah, you could then develop hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. If, and keyword, if you have a history of high blood pressure, long-standing, untreated. So I just find that interesting. And then I actually didn't notice this until I was editing my last video, but it's funny because on the same day, I believe it's July 30th, they did check his blood pressure that day. I don't know if you guys caught that. But on July 30th, the same day that it was reported that he had a high blood pressure or he had a history of high blood pressure, they checked his blood pressure and it was normal. That was the one day that his blood pressure was normal. All the other ones they reported like high blood pressures, but that day it was normal. And on the day that it was normal, they put he has a history of high blood pressure, despite never having a history of high blood pressure. Again, all of this is after he has this visit with this doctor, this cardiologist, potentially, who is clearly, obviously, an expert in cardiology and hypertrophic cardiology. Look at this. Alcohol septal ablation for hypertrophic obstructive cardiomyopathy. Yes, that's one of the clinical treatments to help patients with that. Look, another one, impact of catheter ablation or for atrial fibrillation on clinical outcomes in hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. I find it to be fascinating. It's all starting to add up now. And then, okay, so here's what I found. I'm going through the files, okay? Because here I'm trying, so I was going to use the web to ask, like, look into now with the new files, like maybe there is some. I was trying to prove that he did have hypertension. I'm like looking up the word hypertension. I'm like, does he have hypertension? Has he had, blood pressure issues? Has he taken medication for it? Like, what are we looking at here? You know? Well, let me just get me out of the way again. And I'm going to show you if you can see it. Hold on one second. I might have to zoom in for you. When I saw this, I immediately, okay, so let me tell you what this is that we're looking at first. So what this file is, so let's document 10. Okay, what this file is it's the after action review from the prison, some type of admin. So I don't know who's documenting this, but somebody is doing a review of the events from the time that he entered into the prison and to the time that he took the short route home. So let's go back to that document though, because when I saw this, I was like, you guys, I was like, I knew it. I'm telling you, I know, like, there's no way. Okay. So, where is it now? Okay, here we go. So they reported here, the initial medical screening noted essential hypertension. And that they're talking about that medical screening that I showed you, but did not provide treatment. Right. He never got treatment for high blood pressure while he was in prison, which is odd because it's like if you are saying that this person has a history of high blood pressure, then would they not then need medication for their high blood pressure? But we both know. I mean, we all know if if he really didn't have it and he knew he didn't have it, he's not going to take something for it if he doesn't need it. So, okay, anyway, so he did not provide treatment. Upon further review, it appears this diagnosis should not have been issued. Upon further review, it appears this diagnosis should not have been issued, meaning he does not have high blood pressure. Like there was absolutely no indication that he had high blood pressure upon further review. So, if that is true, if he should not have had that diagnosis, mind you, it was given by what we can assume is the medical director of the prison. I mean, you are the director. You are the I mean, you don't get to, again, this is the thing. You don't get to these positions by not knowing how to diagnose people, knowing when and blood pressure is not a let me just be I mean, people who don't even work in the medical field can check a blood pressure. You can go and buy a blood pressure cuff, an automatic one at the store right now. You can go to your local Walgreens or CVS or whatever you have, wherever you live. You can go to Walmart and you can get a blood pressure cuff and you can check your blood pressure. You don't have to be the medical director of any prison, or you don't have to be the medical director of anything to check a blood pressure. Okay? So I really I'm struggling to understand how we got that diagnosis. Oh, again, it wasn't even a diagnosis of like, oh, hey, like I checked your blood pressure and you have high blood pressure. No, because his blood pressure was checked that day and it was normal. No, it was, I'm going to put down that you have a history of high blood pressure. Okay. Turns out that upon further review, that should have never happened. So, okay. With that being said, then how in the world then did he develop? I mean, again, if he didn't have high blood pressure, did he actually have LVH then? He didn't really have, I mean, don't get me wrong. There are other ways that you can develop left ventricular hypertrophy without having high blood pressure. That is true, but he didn't have any of those things. Not that I can see in the fact, like there's nothing that I have found to suggest any reasonable explanation as to how he would have developed this sort of condition. Is what I'm failing to understand here. So, okay. And then another thing that I found is so bringing it back to Tova and Noel, I do believe, and I'm gonna have to double check this, but I do believe both her and the other guard that she was working with that night did say that they were unaware that Epstein did not have his cellmate with him. Okay, like they thought that he would be there. Well, right here it says on August 9th, 2019, during a shift change in the shoe number 3 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. officer briefed his 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. relief and the other two 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. officers of the likelihood inmate Reyes would not be returning, and inmate Mr. E would require a cellmate upon returning from an attorney visit. And then inmate Mr. E was not placed with a cellmate upon his return. So they were told that it was there was a possibility that he would not have his cell, and they were just acting like they just had no idea that that was even a possibility. They just assumed that he was there. So they didn't know that he was by himself. Yeah. Not buying it. Not buying any of it. Again, we've gone over this. I don't believe that any of that was accidental. If anything, I do believe that they may have potentially been involved, considering one of the guards has actually been to the Virgin Islands and has been changing her name multiple times. And yeah, there's just something not right about that. There's something not right about coming in and out of the US as many times as she has and accelerating through school the way that she has. Like, she's just some genius. Like, oh, I just skipped all these grades because I'm super smart, and now I'm working in the military, and now I'm in our prisons. Anyway, I just thought that was interesting because I saw that and I was like, oh, okay, so they did know. They did know that his cellmate wasn't going to be there. And then they just like didn't care. Anyway, so back to the organs. Um, Shout out to Jesse on Fire. I actually reached out to him. I saw this today and I sent him a message on Instagram that he will probably never see, and that's okay. Um, at some point he might actually file a restraining order. I'm just kidding. It's probably not that serious, but or maybe it is that serious. But I sent him a message just saying like, hey, I wanted him to know what I found when in regards to the heart, because he was looking into um I believe it's the prostate, and that's what we're going to get into right here. So it's not just the heart that is in question. So I wanted to show you guys that in case you haven't seen it, but also I reached out to him because I think if I'm correct with this heart thing, then that goes right along with the discrepancy with the prostate thing. Like, I genuinely do not think that that's the same body at all. Like, there's no way. Okay. So we're just gonna hop right into that part. 1 second here. I can't remember exactly like what part it was. Oh yeah, right here. Okay. And then I don't want to like blast your guys' eardrums out. So I'm sorry if it's super loud at first, but hold on.
You tell me, right? Now let's watch this though, because this is pretty crazy.
So there's been a shocking development in the Jeffrey saga, and it's almost conclusive proof. It's as close to conclusive proof, I guess, as we can ever get that he's not dead. Jeffrey had his prostate removed. And how do we know? Because it's in the files. Here it is. You have high testosterone and still have a need for Viagra because you don't have a prostate, right? Correct. So he didn't have a prostate. Here's another one. A patient, this is from LabCorp. It says after radical prostatectomy, so he had a radical prostatectomy. This is from the autopsy. His bladder had 5 milliliters of cloudy yellow urine. The prostate is slightly and diffusely enlarged with marked enlargement of the vermilabitatanum. The testes are unremarkable. Boy, you don't want to hear that about your testes, do you? Grok, is it possible to grow a replacement prostate? Grok says no. It's currently not possible to grow a full replacement prostate gland for clinical use in humans. While research has made impressive progress in understanding prostate regeneration and creating lab-grown models, no technology exists today to produce a transplantable, fully functional human prostate replacement suitable for implantation. So no. If Jeffrey's autopsy notes the health of his prostate, but it's known that he had previously had his removed, then he either miraculously grew a new one or that wasn't his body. There's really no other conclusions to be had. I agree with you, Awakened Outlaw. I agree with you. He didn't have a prostate, and the body that went through the autopsy did have a prostate, conclusively proving that that is not body that they showed us, Jeffrey is 100% still alive.
Woo! Jimmy Dore. I love Jimmy Dore. I love Jimmy Dore. Okay. He is going to be in San Antonio March 26th. And I think I'm going
Okay, so we can pause there. Yeah, I mean, if you're in San Antonio March 26th, go see Jimmy Dore. And shout out to Jimmy Dore too. I didn't want to, I want to make sure I mention everybody in here because they're both fantastic. And yeah, I 100% agree. I mean, you have a person who doesn't have a prostate being reported in the autopsy that they have a prostate. And now they have a serious heart condition that you would have, I mean, I'm telling you right now, there are people who can be asymptomatic with this condition, but typically you would know, I mean, you know something. When your heart is not filling up or pumping out as much blood as it should be, you're not getting as much oxygen as you should be, and that is noticeable. Okay? Um, like the person themselves notices it. And I'm telling you, this person, you mean to tell me that the person who has a doctor at the snap of a finger, I mean, we saw there on the last episode, they literally were performing procedures on his dining room table. Okay? He can uh get a doctor to perform a procedure on his dining room table, but he doesn't know that he has a heart condition. Yeah, okay. That's I mean, do we seriously believe any of that? Really? I mean, I don't. I agree with Jimmy Dore. I would say definitive like I am. I mean, he's 100%, but I'm like do I have the confidence to say that? I mean, I really do. I think 100%. Yeah. I do. I think that I don't think that he had that heart condition because there's nothing in the files that would suggest that he did have it. There's no I mean, I've seen the conversations between him and his doctors, okay? And this was never mentioned. And then he wasn't taking any heart medication while he was in the prison to indicate that he would have that condition. And then on top of that, we just found in the files that they literally said that should not have been reported that he had a diagnosis that was misdiagnosed. It was not a it shouldn't have been diagnosed as hypertension, which he didn't even have because the same day that he was reported as a history of hypertension, he had a normal blood pressure that day. So no, I'm gonna go out and say, yeah, 100% alive. Where? I don't know. And yeah, I mean, I would assume probably on a private island somewhere because on private islands, nobody can get to it. Nobody can find you there. Okay, it's not like we all have access to like a private jet that we can just get on and go spy over there. Get on a ship and go look. And there's tons of islands. Like there's islands that people aren't even aware of in the ocean, just sitting out in the middle of nowhere. And this guy had like the ability and the means to like just get up and go anywhere for any reason. Now we know that they have the ability to do decoys because we found that in the files. So I really do not think at all, given what we know about like I don't know if you guys have seen it, and if you haven't, go check it out. I do believe Jesse on Fire did do an episode on this where Epstein's ear, like the ear is not the same ear. And your ear is just like your thumbprint. So your thumbprint should match your thumbprint. Your ears are the same. They don't match when he's laying there on that stretcher. Okay? Go check that out. So you have that. You have the heart thing that I'm telling you guys about. And now prostate. Okay? Now let's do an overall recap. All right. So for those of you who just wanted to come here for the heart thing, I'm kind of done with that part. That is all I have for you in regards to his heart and why I don't think that's his heart and why I don't think he's I don't think he's dead at all. So, shout out to Jimmy Dore. I agree. I agree with you. But yeah, so if you just came for that part, thanks for watching. Please subscribe, please like if you want to see more of this stuff. If you want to stay, that's cool too. But I'm going to go ahead and recap, kind of go back to the start of all of this. from the very start of these files that I did, all leading all the way up to here, um, because I don't necessarily think we're at the end of our journey, but it's good to get a good little recap so that we can regroup and kind of decide on what we're going to continue moving forward and what we found out and how we got here. So let's go ahead and get this recap over with. All right. So number one, we're going to go ahead and start with we started with the graveyards, right? It's not the golf courses that I do believe are probably a mass graveyard. That I is alleged. That is not. I do not have evidence of that, other than the fact that the current prez does have his ex-wife buried there. And in addition to that, when she fell down her stairs accidentally, despite having an elevator that she could have taken, she fell down her stairs accidentally, and she was pronounced deceased by the chief medical examiner office, Dr. Jason Graham. And she was pronounced deceased by blunt force trauma to her torso, which we've gone over is extremely rare. If you want to go check out that episode, I go over it in more detail, but I'm just doing like a brief summary recap here. So that is extremely rare to die that way. And then previously, it is noted that the previous president did, or the current president did, joke about having pushed her down the stairs at some point. And then, years later, that's actually how she ended up dying. And then the current president buried her on his New Jersey golf course. Okay, so that's where she is currently buried. And then in the files, we did find that there was allegations from people in the files that there might be more people buried at these golf courses. So we know definitively that at least one person is buried at the golf courses. We cannot prove until there is excavators over there looking and doing a thorough investigation, which I recommend. But again, I don't work for the FBI. I'm not Kash Patel. And I don't even think Kash Patel, um, I genuinely don't even think that he works for the FBI. So, maybe we should be referring to somebody else. I don't know. But anyway, moving on. So that's where we're at on that. I do not have any update on the golf courses because we don't really have any more information on the golf courses. Time will tell eventually, and hopefully we will get some answers to that. And I will always advocate for answers for that. Always, because what the heck. All right, and then we have like I said, Dr. Jason Graham. All right, so he was the chief medical examiner in 2022 for the state of New York. And then back when Mr. E was imprisoned, he ended up being the overseer, if you will, of the autopsy. So he's emailing with the FBI agents back and forth. He's setting up a time with Mr. E's brother to have not just himself there and be available, but also Mr. E's own private medical examiner to be present. They wanted to have their own private one. And then, of course, oddly enough, they chose the medical examiner, Dr. Oh gosh, I always forget his name. I did this last time too. Baden. There we go. Haha. Dr. Baden. Sorry, there's just so many doctors in here. Dr. Baden, who is very controversial. Okay, he's very controversial. He's always on the opposing side of any very high scrutinized or highly oh gosh, like controversial death. Okay, so he was involved in the O.J. Simpson case. He was involved in the George Floyd case and a few others. So I suggest go look into those if you want to learn more about that. But yeah, definitely seems very odd, and he seems to be in the center of every single one, and he's always on the opposing side. So it seems like very corrupt to me. So yeah, so I would go look into that. And then we have Dr. Dore. Dr. Dore is the doctor who was the emergency room physician who pronounced Mr. E deceased like within 10 minutes of him arriving at the hospital. He didn't draw labs. He didn't really try to save him at all. It seems like, at least again, this is what we're seeing written on paper. I wasn't there in the room. I didn't see how he reacted or what actually happened. So all I can go off of is what I'm seeing in the files. What stood out to me is that this doctor, when you look him up, he is very, very, very like always in the center of like some sort of crisis. And he's not the only doctor that was at, like, for example, he was one of the physicians during 9/11. Okay. And he was also working as a physician during COVID. And for some reason, he is just like highly popular. I don't know. Like he's always in these interviews. He's always in news articles, and he's talking about his experience with 9/11. He's talking about his experience with COVID. He's talking about all this, and he's like, this was that, and this was this, and he just seems like very. I don't know. He's always involved in these very high intense crazy things. And again, he's not the only doctor. Again, you guys know I'm a medical professional. I worked during COVID. It was a crazy time. But I'm not over here like writing articles and writing books about it and like, and that's not to say that people can't do that. They can't make a living off of writing about their profession. Many people do. I just find it odd that there's multiple. Like, I can't tell you how many interviews this person's done about 9/11, how many articles. It's a lot. And he even just did a interview with somebody. I found it on YouTube, and I'm gonna go over that on. Uh, I don't know when I'm gonna do it because I don't know how exciting this episode is gonna be when I do it. It's a little bit exciting because it kind of goes into 9/11 and the conspiracy around that. Because when he was talking about with this guy about how he was working in 9/11, he was saying things that I was like, that's really weird. That doesn't make sense. And I was like, I remember my first thought being like, maybe it wasn't inside. Maybe it was an inside thing. Like that was my thought. I was like, oh man, maybe I should do that next. Maybe we should make like a 9/11 series. I don't know. I mean, I feel like that would be like a rabbit hole that we would never get out of. But so I didn't even want to like offer that as an option, but we might get into that a little bit because he was one of the doctors that was involved there and helping patients. And there are certain things that he said that I was just like, that stood out to me as a little bit odd. So yeah. And then another thing that I found interesting is that he is always talking about his experience with 9/11, his experience with COVID and whatever, but never once has he ever done an interview or ever even explained or experienced his experience with Mr. E and how he was involved in that at all. It's like you would have never known. You would have I mean, and this is the person that finds himself on every single uh article and news channel revolving around 9/11 and COVID and whatever. And even I think he mentioned like the AIDS epidemic, and also too he was in the military as well. He was in the military. Something about the military seems to be surrounding uh Mr. E. We have, one of his guards was in the military. Actually, I think maybe both of them potentially were in the military, and then we have um one the emergency doctor that pronounced him deceased was in the military. It's just, I don't know. It just seems. I'm just saying that. I mean, I can't. Just thought it was worth noting. But yeah, so it's crazy to me that he finds himself at the middle of all of this and he's always in these articles, but you would have never known that he was the doctor that pronounced Mr. E deceased unless you look in the files. That he does not want to talk to me. Like there's no news story about that, which is wild to me because it's like you would think that you'd be like, yeah, that was a crazy day for me. That was a crazy day. Like I still remember it. We tried everything we could. He looked like this. You would even think that he might be willing to like debunk some of this. Like there's so I mean, you mean to tell me that he's like living under a rock? Like he hasn't seen all of the controversy around it? Like you would think that he would be, I mean, as public as he's been about everything else. Dr. Antonio Dore, you would think that he would be like, guys, I was there. That's him. I know for a fact that's him. And I know for a fact he's deceased. Like you would think he would do that. Um I mean, HIPAA's long out the window at this point. We know everything. We know everything about this guy's prostate, okay? I think it's okay at this point now if you just tell us that you know definitively that was him and why you know that was him. And I'd like to know why you didn't like draw labs or if you did and why it was documented. I would also like to know why was he at the hospital for like 7 hours before he got to the medical examiner office? Like what was the point of that? That's odd. That's another thing. So we have He is found in his cell at like I think it was like 6:30 in the morning around there, and then he ends up at the hospital. He leaves for the hospital like 7:26 or some 7:26, and then he gets there. He's pronounced deceased at like 7:36, and then he doesn't even get checked into the medical examiner office until like 3:30 in the afternoon to then be like evaluated or looked at or whatever or examined. And then there was talks about like, oh, we need to have a decoy, so we're setting up a van that's not real with boxes in the back, so people think that that's Epstein instead of this being Mr. E. Um, to like purposely dissuade or make the media think that that's not him. It's like it's very weird. Like you don't need to do that. Like what? Um, no, I don't believe any of that. I don't believe any of that for a second. Um, I don't knowing everything that I know now about knowing everything I know now about um Noelle, her background, where she came from, how long she was here, where she worked, how long she worked there, the name changes, the fact that she has flown in and out of you know, uh, Antigua and the United States and then flew to the Virgin Islands on a small private jet. She came into the US and then there's so many multiple times where she leaves and it's not even documented that she left the US. How did she get out of here? Yeah. No, I'm not buying it. I did a whole episode on her that explains why I'm not buying it. Yeah, I think if you want my opinion on the guards, I think that they are potentially pretending like they're being scapegoated from the prison. Like I think they are trying to make people think that they are um I think they're trying to make people think that they're blaming the prison and their horrible organization for what happened so that people don't look into the fact that they were actually all in on it. Like I think that's what it is. I think that they were all in on it. I think that the cameras were in on it. I think that the guards were in on it. I think that um I think there's probably some top people at the prison that were in on it. And certainly I think that there was physicians that were in on it. And again, we know that he is capable of hiring doctors to come meet him anywhere. And we literally saw in the files that there was physicians performing procedures on his dining room table. Do you really think that they can't come and see him in his cell? Really? I mean, not to mention our current prez and him never having to go into military action. Nobody. Even his son has been now medically excluded from joining the service, even though there's really no real reason medically why they can't join the service. Okay. Um, so again, to get like it's not difficult for these people to get doctor's notes. With enough money, you can get a doctor's note to get out of anything. You can get a doctor's note to potentially fake your own death. Okay. That's not far-fetched for me to believe that. So that's where I'm at on that. And that's how we got here. From start to finish, um we looked into the medical examiners that were involved. We looked into the physicians that were involved. We looked into the guards and we looked into the prison itself and we looked into his medical records. Shout out to Jimmy Dore and Jesse on Fire as well for pointing out the prostate. Um, so yeah, I do think he's alive. And I do not know then what that means for our weekly episodes here because what do we look into now? part of why I was doing what I was doing was to try and figure out, like, okay, is he alive? Is he not alive? Is he, because if he's not alive, looking through the files would then be just an endeavor to try and see if there's any other information for other people that can maybe be held accountable. Ultimately, the whole point of this is accountability for me. Like, I think even if the accountability is simply just letting the truth be known, is simply just me saying, like, hey, this is what I found and this is what it is, and I want people to know, and here's the information, it exists. You can go look at this video and here you go. And, like, maybe that's the only accountability, but at least it's something. At least it's the world saying, like, hey, I know you're probably not going to go to prison for this, but we all know you. We all know what you did, and we all know who you are. And that allows us some sort of power, because then that says, I'm not going to participate in your enrichment. I'm not going to participate in your enrichment of exploiting children, and I'm not going to buy your music, and I'm not going to buy your clothes, and I'm not going to support your business. I want you to go bankrupt. You're already bankrupt morally. You should be bankrupt financially as well. Like, morally bankrupt people should not be uh, rich ruling class people that rule over us and like take advantage of us. That's not how it should be. And so I think if we don't have that information, then it makes it a lot harder for us to be able to discern that, and makes it a lot easier for them to pretend like they are, um, you know, on our side, or try to pretend like they're people worthy of our time or money or anything. And so that might be the only accountability that they get, is that we just stop supporting it, and everywhere they go, we just shout at them that we know who and what they are. And to me, it's better than nothing. At least people know. So, and that's worst case scenario. Because best case scenario is that by getting this truth out there, that maybe we do actually see some real accountability, and we see people um get a fair trial and looked at, and get to be where they need to be. So that would be the ultimate goal there. And we may not ever reach it, but like I said, just simply knowing it is good enough. At least for me. I just saying it to you guys and letting you know. I want you to know. I want to know, and I want you to know. But with that being said, I now have my answer. At least for me. You guys get to decide what you think on if you think he's alive or not. But yeah, if he's alive, then looking through these files now, all that is it's basically just a time capsule of all of the crazy, horrible, disgusting, evil things that happened. And it is also potentially incriminating evidence against other people that can still be held accountable. And I think that should be thoroughly evaluated and looked into 100%. And with that being said, I also think, like, now that we know that Mr. E is more than likely alive, then that means for us, what are we looking for then in the files? There's new files wherever he's at. That's what I think we should focus our attention to. That's what we need to be doing, because everybody's focused on if he took the short route home, or if he was murdered. And I don't think it was either. I think that was intentional. Again, I think that they're very good at psychological operations. I think that the guards, like, they're all very good about it. That's why they have you thinking that the guards they were either very, very lazy and didn't do their jobs, or they're scapegoats. And they did their jobs, but they're being scapegoated. And then it's neither. It's neither. Okay? So that's what I'm saying, is they give you, like, these two options. They're like, is it option A or is it option B? And then you see these people are like, I think it's option B and I think it's option A. Well, it has to be option B because of blah, 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 blah. The whole time, you didn't even realize, like, there's an option C. There is an option C that they don't want you to know about. And that's why they have you arguing over option A and option B. And I think that's why we saw that letter too, that letter that I don't believe was Jeffrey Epstein's handwriting. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen his handwriting, but like the dude doesn't write very well. It's like chicken scratches. Okay. And he doesn't really spell very well either. I don't know if you've seen any of his emails, but he's not great at grammar, punctuation, spelling at all. And don't get me wrong, like I'm not perfect. I've definitely made some errors myself, but not to that extent. Okay. Anyway, so I don't believe that, and I genuinely think that that letter was sent out to, again, try to give people this idea that there's an option A or there's an option B, when in reality, it's actually option C, and they just don't want people to know that. Because if people can keep arguing over option A and over option B, then option C will never be an option. They will never know. Right? So, that's my thought on it. That's my take on it. Where we go from here with the Mr. E files, I don't know. But I know that my search is it'll never be over because I think there's always more to learn. You never know. When the web is back up, I will certainly take a look if there's anything that you guys want me to that you think I missed or you think that I should look into or you want me to comment on. I absolutely would love to do that. Um with that being said, I think the next thing I'm going to look into here is going to be I wanted to do the Timothy Cunningham case, and I do plan on doing that. But I think right now what's most important for me, and I think what's most important for Thomas Medlin, is that we look into that. So um we will get into the Timothy Cunningham. I do think that's going to be a fun story, and I might be able to do both. It just depends on the time I have available. So I can't promise that I'm going to do both simultaneously. But I can say that the next thing that I want to pick up on here is going to be Thomas Medlin, because he is still missing, and I am worried, and I'm sure his family is very worried, and I just think that it's not getting enough media coverage. Outside of, again, thank you Schlep, thank you Sean Ryan, absolutely. I love the work that both of you do. Thank you for exposing this, and thank you for not just for Thomas, but for all kids. And again, this isn't a missing children's channel. Um, I brought it up in one of my very first episodes because I was like, what the heck is going on? Like, we have, like, the world is going crazy and this kid is missing, and it could be because of Roblox. Where is he? And I think he was only missing for like 2 weeks at that time. I say only as if that's not a big deal, but I mean, it's only in comparison to now, because he's been missing since January. It's now March. It's been 2 months. So, um, Thomas, if you're seeing this, I just want you to know um, that there are people who don't even know you who are trying to find you. Okay, so hang on, stay safe. If you have any ability at all to reach out to anybody, your mom, your friends, anybody, even a stranger who looks helpful, um, we're here to help you. And yeah, I'm gonna keep covering it, and I'm gonna keep covering it, I think, even more, because I'm not seeing any coverage on it, and I just think that's insane to me. I mean, I know that we're in conflict with Iran, and I know we have things going on, but I don't know, there's something about this story. There's just something about it that's just so weird to me. It's so weird because you have conflicting art. You have the parents and the friends of him saying that he went to go up with somebody from Roblox. But then you have investigators and you have Roblox saying that that's not the case. And I don't know what to believe. And I want to find out what's going on. So, all right, guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for being here. Whether you are a new watcher or you are one of my regular subscribers, I am so happy that you came here. I'm so happy that you are joining us on this journey, however crazy it may be. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Okay, you guys take care. Have a good week. Bye.